Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today it's Tuesday. We're looking at the Hammerhead Cobra vehicle here. Uh, or the Cobra Hammerhead was first released in the United States in 1990. It included the driver Decimator. The Hammerhead is or was discontinued, unfortunately, in 1991. A note here on Yojo.com: the White Submarines were used to create the 2003 convention exclusive Operations Anaconda submarines. Uh, these subs did not include the spring loaded missile launchers. So, this is a submersible sea tank which deploys 5 attack craft. This is an interesting vehicle. Essentially, for me, trying to create the stats for this, which we will get into later, it took a little extra work here. All right, so looking at Decimator here, version 1. Of course, he was exclusively released in the ninth series, 1990, uh, with the Hammerhead. So, interesting character. Not, I don't know if they've come out with a classified version of him yet or not. I don't think so, but I'm just leaving it out there. And of course, then we have some wonderful pictures. Not so many here today as we look at everything. We do have our the top sub here, as well as our underwater kind of like sea-doo type craft that we have, as well as all the different missiles and some of the cannons here. Let's see. And then getting to the wonderful box art here, which really shows off what we really have. So, looking at this, this does look like it's a troop transport as well as having a missile launcher. We have 4 missiles up on top and a couple front cannons here. So that's really the way I'm looking at this as a underwater troop transport uh, cargo vessel. We have all the wonderful stickers here. And of course, we have our blueprints, which is ever so handy when I'm trying to come up with stats for all this stuff and our instructions to try and get it together. Um, it still fascinates me to think about it even today that we were and we still are when you get to classified. I mean, we're getting the toys. It's not like they're all put together for us. We're putting them together kind of like models and all that stuff. So, um, not that I see a problem with that, but it's just the interesting thing of we get it as a box set, and yeah, you gotta still put everything together for it. So, unfortunately, easily broken and or lost pieces, the Hammerhead's front guns are often missing, and the antenna is prone to loss and or breakage. For variations, the Hammerhead was released in 2 color variations, a dark gray and a light gray. Neither variation seems harder to find than the other. Unfortunately, our last bit here on yojo.com, they do not have a listed price for this. Um, Likewise, normally we have a few more pictures, but this is something that they kind of just are lacking and on the extra pictures of, probably because it's just a little harder to find a complete version of this. So, all right, so let's look at the Hammerhead as a D6 universe vehicle. So this is an amphibious assault vehicle. We do have this listed as a troop transport. Trying to figure out the actual length of this is kind of difficult. So I did put it at about 33 feet. Now, that's a rough guess. Whether I'm right or wrong, I really can't say 100%, but it's a good starting point for nothing else. We do have a crew of 2, passengers of 6, and I gave it a cargo capacity of 10 metric tons. Um, Now, bear with me on this thought because Cobra does have a lot of underwater uh, bases in that. So I figured this might also serve as a transport to try and get cargo from topside down to their base. Uh, just leaving it as simple as that, and also filling a role as a troop transport. This might even take the place of the his tank in some regards because maybe as they transition off the Cobra Island, maybe more underwater or something. However you want to view it. I think I'd always like to keep Cobra with Cobra Island, but as they kind of diverse and get more underwater sea bases, they might want more vehicles like this to be able to do that with. So, like I said, I'm just kind of throwing it out there. Of course, we're going to have a full coverage, maneuverability, and I guess I kind of mess up on this a little bit. Um, Let me see here. So we have a 0D plus 2 for maneuverability. But now the question is that going to be above ground or underwater? Uh, I think what we'll do is we'll add a extra category because I wasn't thinking about this when I put the stats. We're going to keep it a 1D for land. Oops, if I can spell. Um, and then, of course, it's going to be a 0D plus 2 for water based. So, kind of just leaving it at that. We have a movement of 45 miles an hour on land and about 35 miles an hour in the water. Seems like it's a little on the faster side, but kind of just going with it as it is. Body strength, I left that at a 3D. Weapons, this gets a little interesting trying to figure out all the different weapon systems we do have on here. We do have two light blaster cannons. These are front firing speeder scale, has a fire control of 2D and a damage of 5D. We do have two proton hydro torpedoes, speeder scale, fire control of 4D. Usually, when I'm doing the missiles like this, I figure that they may have like a tracking or sonar or whatever. So I usually give it a little bit higher fire control and a damage of 9D. We also have on the very back, which this picture doesn't show it, there is a cannon that sits on the very back of this. So I did put that as a heavy cannon. Um, that's going to be turret based, speeder scale, fire control is 4D, and a damage of 6D. So that is the base vehicle. Now, when we get down to this, now we have a pod that's going to be a light attack sub, speeder scale, roughly about 13 feet long. Uh, Crew of one, passengers zero. Cargo capacity, I think I left that a little on the high side. I think that should probably only be about 45 kilograms. Uh, sometimes when I'm going through this and um, just trying to figure things out or whatever, like I said, when I see a vehicle, I look back at some of the other vehicles that we have, and I think about it and like, okay, does this work as a base? And then I have to that gets me like the one vehicle, the two vehicles, or whatever, and then I have to kind of go through stat by stat and I try to recreate it. So it's this one. It just gives me the layout to say, okay, well, I have this many vehicles. It's all underwater already, so I have a little bit of a template to go with. So occasionally you do catch me leaving something there that's like, nope, that shouldn't have been there. Uh, and that's on me. All right, full coverage is going to be on this one, which makes sense. Let's see. We do have maneuverability of 2D plus 1, seeing that this is supposed to be a smaller attack sub. Move of 35 miles an hour underwater. Body strength is going to be 3D. We have the two proton hydro torpedoes right here. Fire controls 4D, damage is 90. Same as what we have on our Hammerhead itself. Now, I did not see anything here, but as kind of common for a lot of the G I Joe vehicles, I put a twin blaster cannon on here. Uh, Figuring it's going to be right underneath the cockpit or something. Fire control is going to be 2D, damage is going to be 40. This is going to be a light version of this. Um, that way, maybe they can get the heavy water samples that they need again. All right, so that now brings us to our two Hammerhead sleds. So, being water sleds, speeder scale, length of 12 feet, crew of one, passengers of zero. That could be argued whether or not you want to throw a passenger on there or, More than often, I'm going to say that you probably have someone just hanging onto it, maybe, but it's not really intended to have a passenger. However, you want to look at that. Um, Cargo capacity is going to be 15 kilograms. Cover is going to be 1/4. It's going to have a move of about 25 miles an hour. Um, Body strength is going to be 1D. And it's got on the sides, now this one isn't showing it, but it does have on the sides two hydro torpedoes. So again, that's going to be a fire control of 4D and damage of 9D. And looking at the fins, it is listed in our schematics right here on the tips of the fins in the front are light blaster cannons. So I gave it the blaster cannons that we have on the other sub. So that's going to be fire controls 2D and damage of 4D. So this actually has all those weapons listed that we didn't have the blasters shown or listed on our little hammerhead pod. Now we get to our hammerhead sub. Now there's two of these. So we do have a length of 20 feet. This is again going to be a speeder scale, crew of one. Cargo capacity is going to be 150 kilograms. Full cover, maneuverability of 2D plus 1, maneuverability of, or a move speed of 35 miles an hour, body strength of 3D again. Um, we do have the twin light blaster cannon. Now, I figure that that's going to be in the nose. Now, this is one that I added on here because, again, it's not listed in there. So, just leaving it at that. It's not listed in the schematics, but I figured it's probably going to have it. So, we're going to have fire control is 2D and damage is 4D. We have two. Uh oh, I goofed. All right. So when I was copying this over from the last one, it's not two, it's four, because we can see that we have four of the uh, proton hydro torpedoes. There's two on each side here. Damage or fire control is going to be 4D, damage is 9D. This is all at speeder scale. And then on the top, we do have a launcher for a heavy photon torpedo. So this is going to take it from a speeder scale to a walker scale. We still have the fire control of 4D and damage of 90, but it ups the scale one. That way, if they're trying to go after, say, like another assault carrier or something that the Joes have, a larger ship in that regard, or maybe if they're trying to take out tankers or something like that, they have a bigger missile for doing, or torpedo for doing that. It's fun doing these things, but I mean, as we go on, we start getting more of these vehicles where it's not just one, but it's like five. And it just takes time trying to do this. It's fun, but it just takes time trying to just rack my head up against the wall to say, what is it going to have? How big are these? So, yeah, it just gets to be an interesting thing. Now, I'm just looking at our hammerhead pod here, and there is a mount here, and I'm willing to bet that's the same mount that we have for our heavy um, heavy photon or proton torpedo. Um, so if that's there, then I guess what I'm going to have to do is I think I need to add that in there. So I wasn't paying attention to that before, so let me see if I can't shift this stuff down. All right, shift this down about 6 levels here. I'll get my pictures moved accordingly. And then what we're going to do is we're going to copy our heavy proton torpedo or hydro torpedo, and we're going to add it up here. And this is kind of the hardest thing because when we're looking at pictures that we don't have everything here. And I did do a Bing search, and I guess I still use the old Bing. Um, uh, Trying to find full pictures of what these all are is not the easiest. So I mean, we can actually. It looks like there's a radar dome on this, but I'll leave it as the heavy proton torpedo instead of a radar dish. Seeing that I just added it in there, I think it's fitting. I think Cobra's going to be more concerned about trying to get the weapons so that way they can do more strike and awe and terror to the rest of the world to take it over. I think that that's a little bit more fitting here. Whether I'm right or wrong, you know, you can always let me know in the in the comments. As always, if you're taking this stuff and running it in a D6 universe for G I Joe, which I'm still trying to figure out exactly where I should try and post this up. I want to get this stuff up so everyone can download this. Um, but seeing that I've never tried to do any of this before, I'm way out of my element. That's the fun thing about doing this. I figured if for nothing else, maybe you guys can just take pictures and mash it together. Uh, but I'd love to have this up here so everyone can see this stuff and then you know have a fun game out of it. I think the D6 system works really well for a lot of different genres, and I think the GI Joe genre would be wonderful for it. So, with that, thanks for stopping by. It's wonderful having you here. Hope you're doing well. Everybody's getting sick, and I understand that, and I'm still fighting a little something myself as it just kind of lingers on here. Um, so, hopefully, everyone's doing well in those regards. And I will see you in the next video.